Alright, so memories or recollection bits are very important in this game as they are basically your weapon or kind of equipment because there's not really anything else to really help your units, and some can completely transform a unit and really either help their damage or very well help support the team. So I'm going to give you a quick explanation as to how they work, and then after we're going to go into the best per role. So I break it down for the best, well, like Jujutsu units, right, which is the main stat for DPSs. It's between Jujutsu and Taijutsu. So the best Jujutsu units, the best, well, like the best recollection bits for Jujutsu units, the best recollection memories for Taijutsu, and then the best for supports, and then the best for tanks. Okay, so those are like the four main roles we're going to be talking about with some that I was able to find. Thank you to the wiki again for a lot of this info, and I'm just here to basically break it down and make it easier to digest, and you don't have to read much. So basically, recollection bits, how it works is basically they have stats between HP, Jujutsu, and Taijutsu. Okay, so for example, let me just see. Yeah, so that's HP, Taijutsu, and Jujutsu. Okay, so you could see, I think it changed. Yeah, so basically that's just how it is. Those are the three stats. Now, there's one passive you get baseline, and then when you get to a higher limit break level, limit breaker 3. I would like to say 3. I feel like I'm tripping though. Yes, at Limit Breaker 3, usually it enhances by 5%. Whatever it is, 5% extra, usually. So, for example, if you get an 80% damage increase, it's going to become 85. But at Limit Breaker 1, you get an extra passive. So it goes from normal passive at Limit Breaker 0. 1 dupe, you get a new passive. Dupe 3, the first passive gets enhanced. Now, you're also basically you want to level these up, okay, and these are stuff you have to in battle activate. All right, so that's the basic gist of these memories. Now we're going to talk about the best ones. The game's already out, but I'm recording this before, which is why I'm in the Japanese version, and obviously I just wanted to show because look, there's a lot more memories in here, so it's pretty cool to just kind of show that off for sure. Now then, first of all, we have the Jujutsu type units. So for Jujutsu units, obviously, you're going to want to prioritize for the Jujutsu. So to help you out, you could either go to the focus for the wiki or in the future, or ask me on stream because I will be streaming a little bit, or you could check out the stream I already did to see if I answered some of the questions. But you could see on the focus of these stats. Now, for these units, right, it's literally Jujutsu damage. So you're going to want to focus Jujutsu, okay? So she increases her own Jujutsu, which is even better. And then for Gojo, right, the way it could work is you just have your skill 2, and then you do one big alt, which is going to be your big nuke, right? So that's basically how it's going to be. So you only need to use the memory on the alt, right? So you activate it, boom, on the ultimate. So I just gave 2 examples. There are going to be a couple more, but let's go over some of them. So for Gojo especially, this one's going to be insane. It gives the highest, one of the highest Jujutsu, right? And then it doesn't give that high HP, which is good because Gojo doesn't need it, right? And then after, it's going to increase on alt Jujutsu damage and then fill own alt gauge quicker. So even for Nobara, this one's going to be very good because her alt could be AoE or single target. For a single target nuke, this one could work very well, but this one could just work on anyone because the damage increase is so high with this 80%, and the 200 extra alt gauge is good for Nobara because she has a relatively low alt skill gauge also. So this one's pretty good. Then this one also, a lot of the ones for DPS are going to be Ssr-R, right? But for supports and tanks, it's going to be more SRs, but there are some that are SRs or free to play, even better. So we'll go over that. Now this one, okay, this one gives more Jujutsu, and it could be used for also hybrids, right? I want to preface, for a hybrid build like Yuta, this one could be pretty good for free to play because it gives Jujutsu and Taijutsu, and then instead of anything else like Jujutsu or Taijutsu, it gives just damage increase. So this one's going to be pretty good. You could use it for alt for Yuta, and I think this one could work very well for more balanced builds, but then also for Jujutsu, as it gives higher, this one's not bad because it gives a very high damage increase. Now, that's like the main 2. Let me just pull up one more. You could use something like this where it increases higher Jujutsu, and then when you use your alt, it's like a minier version of Jujutsu damage. So this one could be pretty good for Gojo and Nobara. Now this part is not going to be good for Gojo, but Nobara, it's not horrible. It's just like, you know, you go with what you can, and this one is not going to be horrible, okay? Now, next up, we got Taijutsu units. So, for example, Itadori's full Taijutsu, Maki's full Taijutsu, and then we got someone like Yuta in the future who's going to be combined. So, I'll say which ones are combined, but for example, this one is more of a combined one that could work on Yuta in the future. So, first of all, This one gives both stats, but then increases taijutsu damage when you use any of your 3 basic skills, while also reducing damage if you get it at 1 dupe, okay? This one is not going to be horrible, but definitely not one of the better ones. I mean, Gojo's literally is double this, but on alt, to be fair. But this one is on just command skills, so it's an okay one. But for someone like Itadori, it's not the best, right? It's just a taijutsu stat. While having this, it's not horrible. Then this one gives a lot more taijutsu, and it's better for Itadori, as Itadori will work a lot better for his alt being pretty strong. 4 hits of that while having the crit rate and black flash rate up is, sorry, this one, the 3 hits here is going to be very good. His damage could be very nice. And why this one's good is because when he activates alt, he's going to increase it by either 70% or 30%, right? Either or. And that could be pretty good. And he gets revival status. You really can't complain on a DPS like Itadori to get this if you really dupe it out. But just having the extra taijutsu is going to be great for the GOAT. And then this one has even higher taijutsu, but here it's just increasing all allies' ultimate skill gauge. But because of how high the taijutsu is, this one's not horrible for that, right? So please do keep that in mind. And then filling the alt gauge, if the enemy is in break status when you attack, is actually pretty good for Itadori, okay? Because he's going to get extra crit rate and black flash rate. So, you know, spamming the alt is not exactly a bad thing, all right? Then there's this one, which increases taijutsu a lot. And then when you activate alt, this is basically the Gojo of it, the hollow purple one, right? Where this one increases taijutsu by 80%. And then when you perform a crit, this is basically Itadori's. You fill own alt skill gauge by 200. So I'd say if you really want to build Itadori, I mean, this is probably one of the better ones. Easily, right? Easily. You cannot go wrong with this for sure. And then there's an Ssr-R one, right? For taijutsu, you increase all allies' damage dealt by 30% while having taijutsu when you do an alt. So you could either use this on a DPS or even on a support, right? This one works on a support, but it is a bit low on HP, so keep that in mind. And this could be good for Itadori too, because he has, how much is it? 1300, so it's pretty high. So having this ability to fill own alt skill gauge by 200, and it's an Ssr, so it's going to be pretty easy to get, is something to keep in mind for sure. And then there's also the Malevolent Shrine, which increases damage dealt, and then increases all enemies' taijutsu damage received by 30%. So for someone like Itadori and Yuta in the future, and then Maki, and any other DPS you want to use for taijutsu, well, this one can definitely work. I think this one's pretty good, okay, just to have, because it's increased damage dealt when you use your alt. Like, that is a pretty good one. And this too, I like it. At the start of each wave, keep in mind, and it's an Ssr. And then we get into supporters. So we got these 3, I just pulled them up, but we got the supporter role, okay? And for supporters, right, they're looking for either increasing damage dealt or having higher HP or healing, right, in a way. So this one is giving pretty good HP, all right? And this one's the free one, I think. But this one, I don't know how you get this one. Let me know if you know down below. But when you use a command or alt, if you use it, right, if you activate it, you'll get 30% HP heal up to 35. And then at the start of the battle, right, with 1 dupe, you decrease all allies damage received by 10% for 4 turns. So this one's going to be a pretty decent one. I like it, good HP. But this one too is also very nice. I like it maybe a bit more because it's going to heal. Well, it heals the same amount, and this one's free to play. So it being free to play is nice. And then at the start of battle, decrease own damage received by 20%. So this, it's very similar. It's just that here it's to everyone and here it's to you. Depends on what you want, and I think the stats are a bit worse. Yeah, the stats are a bit worse, but depends on what you want. But it's not bad to keep yourself alive and have Gojo just tank, right? Because he won't take damage, right? So keep that in mind. To have him tank and then heal, or whoever you choose for your support and then heal, is going to be very, very good. And then we got an Ssr one, which increases HP very low. But then when you use any skill, essentially, you can increase all allies damage dealt by 10 up to 15%. And then at the start of turn, if own HP is 50% or below, recovers cursed energy. So this is a simple one, not much HP, but that's that. And now we get into the tanks. Okay, so for supports, there's not a crazy amount. I could try finding 1 or 2 more. If you feel like you're dying a lot, you could put this one for the revival status if you have it duped out, while also decreasing all allies damage received by 10%, which could be decent, especially if you put it on someone like Yaga. This is not a bad one too. But for supports, like in the future, there will for sure be better ones. But even at that, if you want a simple one, not much HP, it does give a heal when you use any skill, and then also reducing damage received. So anything like this could be pretty good just to run. Just giving you a couple of examples. Now for tanks, I put up Panda, and then Miwa, and then Panda again, because these two taunt, she taunts, and then she evades. So this one's for sure better for Miwa, but you could also put it on the Pandas in where when you use a command skill, it's going to draw all enemies attacks to self while giving evasion status 1 time. Okay, so this is not bad. The evasion, I think, for Panda could be better, but also for Miwa, it's not a bad one, right? It's just the HP is a bit low, but considering you're evading, it's going to be pretty decent. That's crazy to me, but I guess it is a rare. And then there is this one, which at the start of the battle grants taunt status to self 2 turns, while giving pretty weak HP. But if you want to use this for Panda, I think this could be good because Panda is going to be hard to kill and has a revival, right? So that's something to mention, right? This is like gonna be pretty decent for tanks for sure, for like a free-to-play standpoint. Cannot go wrong with it. So that's it. I kind of wanted to give a bunch of memories for DPSs because I feel like people, like in terms of DPS, you're more willing to actually go for memories. And a lot of people got this Gojo one just from the early gacha. So I think that's very important. Now, let me know if there's any down below that you find actually very useful. And I will update it in the pinned comment so that, you know, I'm giving extra helpful content. Never hurts to give that, right? So thank you to the wiki for having all this info readily available for me. And you're going to see this after launch, but I wanted to have it very compact and just have it separate between the 4 main roles in this game. So thank you so much for watching this video. Like and sub if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.